The time is now 9:30, and we'll call the meeting of February 9th of the Millcreek Board of Supervisors. Call it to order. Begin with a pledge to the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Item number 3 on the agenda is public comment on agenda items other than development or rezoning applications. Any public comment from anybody on agenda items? Being none, we'll move on to number 4. As you probably see up here, we have a new face up here with us, and I'm pleased to introduce McDowell Senior, Caitlin McLaughlin. Caitlin, as I said, is a senior at McDowell High School, graduating here in June, and she is our student ambassador through the June period, and will be a part of the board here is possible discussions and stuff like that. And just as a reminder, we had a student last year. The student does not carry any voting powers, so don't worry about that. But we're very pleased to have her. We want to thank the Millcreek School District for their support of this program, and also a huge support, a huge thanks that is, goes out to Andrea Nucerino, who is her guidance counselor, and the concept, the idea of what government's all about. And I'll tell you a little bit about Caitlin. First of all, she is choosing between 2 different universities. I guess she's been accepted at both of them. Emerson University and also American University. As you know, those are top-notch schools, top-notch universities, and looking at a degree in political science and journalism. So you can see her now. In about 10 years, you'll see her on network news. So you get to say, I got to know her when, So anyway, we do welcome Caitlin, and hopefully you'll get a lot of experience out of this, and feel free to chime in when we ask for comments. So, okay, welcome aboard. Moving on to agenda item number 5, the approval of the minutes from our last meeting. Are there any corrections or additions to that? If not, I call for a motion to approve.
I move to approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
Okay. Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. McGrath?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Number 6, item number 6 is payment of the bills. Approval of the bills, that is. There. Any questions or comments? If not, I call for a motion to approve that.
I'll move that we pay the bills.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Mr. McGrath?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, item number 7, Christmas tree recycling event. The check presentation there. Judy, Jessica, and Rita, would you like to come forward here? Just come up here where we can see you. Everybody. Jesse, Rita. Maybe you want to go over to the podium too, and that way the people can hear you. Is the microphone close to you? There we go.
I think you have some tall guests.
Yes.
Next
Okay.
speaker's going to have to move it up very high.
Okay.
On behalf of the Millcreek Township and Fairview Township Supervisors, we would like to thank all of the Erie County residents that participated in our annual Christmas tree cycling event. It was held January 9th at the Mill Fair Compost Center, and this was our 20th year of collecting Christmas trees, and actually our 11th year out at Mill Fair. Before Mill Fair, the inception of Mill Fair, we had, Brian, I think you remember, dumpsters all over the township.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And Waste Management partnered with that program, but now it's out at Mill Fair. Now, on January 9th, despite the rain, it was a pretty nice day for January. Not quite our usual January weather out there. So there was a great turnout because of this from the participants and also our volunteers. Main thing I want to do first is to thank all of the volunteers that gave their time. Special thanks to Jessica James, our Millcreek Township Recycling Coordinator, Mark Dietz, Sue Bardo, Steve Cornelius, Skip Glover, Jim Seifert, Sean Stutzman, and the McDowell ROTC student volunteers were out there helping us also. These wonderful volunteers unloaded 214 Christmas trees from vehicles. Now, that equals almost 8,000 pounds of tree waste that was diverted from the landfill. So, and all participants were asked for a voluntarily donation to the Emmaus Soup Kitchen. So we are pleased with the generosity as we are here today to present to Sister, well, actually Rita. Rita is taking Sister's place. She's not able to make it today, with a check in the amount of $1,403.35 and some various canned goods also. We appreciate the support of the supervisors and also the wonderful volunteers that made this such a successful event. And Rita, we also appreciate your dedication to our community through your efforts at the Emmaus Soup Kitchen.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's great.
Thank you. And on behalf of Sister Mary, I wish to thank everyone. We have a wonderful relationship with you all. This is a wonderful effort, and we're glad to be a part of it. And thanks for this amount of money will really do a great deal to feed a lot of hungry people in our communities. Thank you very much.
Sounds great. Thank you. Okay.
Have you guys maybe step down? I know we already took a photo, but
Or do you want just
do you want
us
to stay up?
Just to take it, that's
Well,
great.
Yeah.
us you.
Down in front of us.
You ladies did all the work. You can
Yeah.
have the credit.
Yeah, you need the credit for that there.
You were out there.
Yeah.
This year, though, I did need hand warmers for my boots.
Okay.
So I will tell
Yeah.
you that.
Just to reiterate what Judy was saying, this is a joint effort between Millcreek and Fairview Townships. And I think Mark Januso was scheduled to be here, but unfortunately he's tied up somewhere else, so thank you again. Okay. Moving on to agenda item number 8. I'll turn the part of this over to Captain Scott Height, speaking on behalf of Director of Police Mike Tesor. Captain.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of Director Tesor, I would respectfully request the board to approve the hiring of Michael Sorokas, Derek Spiker, and Lorelei D'Angelo as probationary police officers within the Millcreek Township Police Department, retroactive to February 1st of this year. These individuals will all serve in the patrol division of the department and all have successfully completed the Pennsylvania Act 120 Municipal Police Training Course at Mercyhurst Northeast. Additionally, all 3 officers have passed background checks, physical examinations, and psychological examinations as required. Mr. Sorokas has graduated from the Bradford Area High School, graduated from the University of Pittsburgh in Bradford, PA, with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and has prior police experience with the City of Erie Police Department. Mr. Spiker graduated from Northeast High School, attended Mercyhurst University, served 4 years in the United States Army, and worked for the Harbor Creek Youth Services. Currently, he serves in the Ohio National Guard. And Mrs. D'Angelo graduated from Iroquois High School, graduated from Mercyhurst University with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and has had prior police experience with the Erie Regional Airport Authority.
Okay, thank you, Captain. At this point, I'll call for a motion to approve the hiring of those 3 officers. Do I hear a motion on that?
So moved.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. McGrath?
Yes.
How do you vote? Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, at this time, we'll swear these 3 officers in, so if the 3 new officers would come forward, I'll administer the oath. Come here and line up facing family and friends and fellow officers. Everybody hear me okay there? Okay. Okay. If you will, after I begin here, you have to state your name. I do your name. Use your name. Okay. Do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth. That I will discharge the duties of police officer in Millcreek Township, Erie County, with fidelity. Congratulations, you're now Millcreek police officers. Thank you. You can go ahead and have a seat. For those in the audience that are friends and family of the new officers, there will be a reception afterwards. Feel free to go out there anytime. We have food and some beverage, snacks out there. Now we,
You might want to allow a moment.
right, but we have more business to do that. Yes, yeah, we'll do that. Captain Height, back to you again. You have some promotions you'd like to talk about.
Yeah, also on behalf of Director Tesor, we'd like to promote the following individuals. Corporal Chris Hauber to the rank of Sergeant within the Investigative Service Division, retroactive to February 1st of this year.
Yep.
Corporal Hauber is a 15-year veteran with this department, and aside from his detective duties, also serves on the MPD SWAT team and is a fire investigator and firearms instructor. Patrolman Timothy Farrick to the rank of Corporal within the Patrol Division, retroactive to January 25th of this year. Patrolman Farrick is approaching 9 years service within the department and is one of our training officers. Patrolman Michael Panaghetti to the rank of Corporal in the Patrol Division, also retroactive to February 1st. Patrolman Panaghetti is approaching 9 years service with our department, SWAT team operator and SWAT team sharpshooter. Patrolman Brandon Haynes to the rank of Corporal within the Patrol Division, also retroactive to February 1st. Patrolman Haynes is approaching 10 years service with our department, is a SWAT team operator and SWAT team sharpshooter.
Okay.
And lastly, Patrolman Jeffrey Keller to the rank of Corporal within the Patrol Division, retroactive to February 1st. Patrolman Keller is a 6-year veteran with our department, is one of our training officers.
Okay. At this time, I'll call for a motion to approve those promotions. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay. Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. McGrath?
Yes.
And I vote yes. If we could have those officers, if they're here, if they could come forward, we would just like to identify them, let people know who they are, congratulate them on their promotions. Okay, thank you. They're all here. Great. Okay. 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 Here's our new promotions here with Millcreek Township. Congratulations to all of you. Congratulations, sir. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Photo op. That's great. Okay, guys.
Thank you, guys.
At this time, if there's anybody who would like to leave the meeting room, we'll allow a couple of minutes for that to happen. If you will, if you're going to congregate out in the hall there, I'm going to ask that the door be shut so we don't have any interference from communication out there.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Captain. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Scott.
See you, Scott.
That was most of the crowd.
That's, yeah. Where'd everybody go?
Here I saw her in that hand, so.
I feel bad.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The tuba player, he was a tuba player. And his brother was a tuba player.
I wanted to ask Kuczynski about his
Yeah. Not at all. No.
Oh, God, no.
Okay.
Brother would have been in the Army. He was in jail. Scott said he just came back from Europe yesterday or something like that. Just would have never dreamed that. Oh, way younger. Way younger I was. I think I was working here and I knew Norby, which is Selma, his mom. They lived up on, because I remember, you know how the Ray Drive comes off of
Yeah.
the house just west of it.
I don't know.
Because they were homestead.
Thanks.
Ants.
Okay. 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 Okay, after that brief pause in the meeting, we'll continue. We have item on the agenda number 9, MCH Corporation for property bounded on the west side of Peach Street, south of Bryant, east of Richmond, and north of Dudley Street, known as 5202 Peach Street, now Zone C1, Local Commercial District, C2, General Commercial, and R1 District, asking for a change in classification to C1 Local Commercial District. Mr. Pierce, do you have any comments from County Planning or our Millcreek Planning Commission?
The Millcreek Township Planning Commission recommended approval. Erie County Planning Department recommended that if we did this, that we should redo our comprehensive plan map.
Make some amendments to the comp plan.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay, then.
Mr. Pierce, just a point of clarification. When I look at the map, it seems like there's another zoning district on this block. Is it? Looks like it's an industrial district?
No, it would be, it's all either R1 in this block that's being rezoned or proposed to be rezoned. It's R1, either C1 is up in the northern portion of it, and C2 is along Peach Street at the moment.
Okay. Okay, any other comments?
Okay, so that's existing, that would be, it's hard to get directions on this.
I know.
Northwest corner is currently C1?
That's correct.
Okay.
Mr. McGrath, the corner at Bryant Street and Richmond Street, at that intersection is C1, and it comprised of 2 lots, which are one very large lot, which is on the corner, and a small subdivided lot, which is immediately to the south of it.
Okay,
Gotcha.
okay. Okay. Mr. Pierce, anything else we need to know from you? Okay.
That's all from
Okay.
the Planning Commission and that.
Okay,
yes.
at this time, I'll call for somebody that they're representing MCH to speak on their behalf.
Mr. Chairman, I am.
Okay. Would you
Chairman-
identify yourself, please?
Yes. Chairman Groh and Supervisors McGrath and Martin, I am Michael Wisnowski, and I represent MCH Corporation in its application to rezone a 4.62-acre parcel on Peach Street from C2, C1, and R1 to C1. The map which I gave Mr. McGrath at the beginning of the meeting, which is behind you, shows the significant commercial use of Peach Street from West Grandview to the first entrance of the Millcreek Mall. All properties identified in red are either zoned local commercial or regional commercial. I have also provided you with an inventory of 59 tax parcels, which shows that 49 are zoned local commercial, 1 is zoned regional commercial, 4 heavy industry, 1 light industry, 3 single-family residents, and 1 low-density residence. At this time, there are no definite plans for the development of this site. The most probable uses would be for the enhancement of services at Millcreek Community Hospital, which are permitted in a C1 district. Any development on this site would be of the same high quality as the Lecom Medical Fitness Center, the Senior Living Center, and the 2 towers at Millcreek Community Hospital. It would also be done in full compliance with all township land development ordinances. The rezoning request is consistent with the objectives of the county and township comprehensive plans. The development will be completed under the supervision of the zoning office, engineering office, planning commissions, and supervisors enforcing the zoning ordinance, the land development ordinance, and stormwater management ordinance. It will be a closely managed development. Public water is on 3 sides of the parcel and public sewer on all 4 sides. It is currently bordered by 4 paved roads and has direct access to Peach Street, an arterial highway, and a collector street, Bryant Street, controlled by a traffic signal. And it is within 1 block of a major thoroughfare. It is in a county-designated growth area as indicated by the map which was provided with the inventory of properties. It has no impact on a rural resource area, conservation area, or agricultural security area. The development will minimize environmental impacts and eliminate conflicts among 3 different land uses as required by Section 304 of the zoning ordinance. The development will create a new and permanent jobs in the township economy. At the time of the Planning Commission hearing, David Bryan was concerned about his water well. I have spoken to both a well driller and hydrogeologist. I have been advised that there should be no effect on any water well in the area because the water table from which the wells draw their water is much deeper than any stormwater management system to be installed. Brian Flick expressed concerns about privacy. No 10-story building will be built on the site. The zoning ordinance restricts the height of a building in a C1 district to 35 feet. The zoning ordinance also requires a 20-foot planting strip on a border with any residential neighborhood. It must be 6 feet high within 2 years and permanently maintained. The traffic volume from West 54th Street to West Grand View is 23,000 vehicles per day. There should be no substantial increase in that traffic count. Mr. Flick and Ms. Danowski raised issues of taxes. I think that they are unaware that LECOM health entities do pay taxes, $140,957 in township tax, $537,610 in Millcreek School District tax, and $195,557 in county tax, totaling $874,124 in 2015. Mrs. Palmer was concerned about her electric service. I spoke with Sean Filson at Penelec, who assured me that Penelec would contact her about her power outages. MCH Corporation requests that the supervisors approve the requested zoning from C2, C1, and R1 to C1. I would be glad to take any questions from the supervisors or citizens here at this time.
No. Okay. At this time, we'll call for any questions from the board. Anybody?
We want to see if there's somebody in opposition.
Okay. Before we do that, is there anybody else to speak in this matter, either in support or in opposition? Or just general questions about the application? No? Okay. Okay.
I just want to
Among the
reiterate.
board.
Well, looking at the map and your color scheme as well, it still looks like that northwest corner is actually light industrial by your color scheme and the scheme we have here. Just want to
The
clarify.
light industrial properties are located near the West Grand View border. There are 4 heavy industry and white industry. I have checked that out several times, both with Mr. Pierce and county planning, and the corner there is the only C1 lot on the block. It consists of 23,000 square feet. It was originally zoned C1 for Dr. Ida Luca to build a clinic there, which he opted not to do. In any event, Mr. Martin, our goal is to unify the zoning so it's consistent with Section 304 of the zoning ordinance.
Okay. I think first things call for verification of what that actually is right now.
All right, well, I'm just trying to verify the request. An industrial district isn't mentioned in the request, and it looks like that's an industrial district both on your map and on our map.
Well, I was advised by Mr. Pierce that it was a C1
It is zoned C1.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
The parcel in question would be the southwest or southeast corner of Richmond and Bryant is zoned C1.
It is zone C1.
That's
and
correct.
It's not industrial.
Not industrial, no.
Okay. we
Chuck,
have-
can I make a request? I think when you give the board a map that shows it in purple,
Yeah.
they're going to correspond it with that purple coloring on the land.
Well, and it's
classification.
not just Chuck's map, it's also the map provided by MCH, so
Right,
it's the
yeah.
same.
So it's a shading issue of the color.
Right.
The color code, okay.
It's the printer.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so we have that clear that it is C1, it's
That
not
is correct.
industrial, okay.
It is C1.
Okay,
Anything fronting Pete Street is C2.
That is correct.
The corner of
Yeah.
Richmond and Bryant is C1. The yellow, the remainder is residential.
R1, that is
That's
correct.
Gotcha.
okay. Okay. Any other questions or comments from the board?
Chuck, I have one. Mr. Wisniewski mentioned the planning strip required. I believe it is required between commercial and residential, correct?
That is correct.
Now, when you get out to Richmond Street, if the rezoning were to go all the way to the frontage on Richmond Street, would any kind of a buffer still be required?
Other than the green, 10-foot green strip along the frontages would be the only green that would be required.
There'd be a green strip, I guess, just the grass strip
That is
between
correct.
the edge of pavement and the property.
That is correct.
Okay, so there really wouldn't be a buffer required if the rezoning were to go all the way to Richmond Street?
The right-of-way, that is correct.
Okay.
Mr. McGrath, if I could, I have a little difference of opinion with Mr. Pierce on this, because at section 310.4 of the zoning ordinance, because we would be a totally commercial district, our planning strip required is 20 feet on any border with the residential district with appropriate outlets for traffic ingress and egress. So, you know, we understand that at the time, and I have, in my own arts and craftsy way, I prepared a map to show what that planning strip would look like. And this is a rough design because I couldn't do it exactly to scale, but that would be a 20-foot planning strip. One may not be necessary on the north side, because the north side of the project is a strip plaza, which is also zone C1, totally commercial.
Well, then I guess you want to take a look?
Yeah, let's take a look at that.
I guess there's a difference of opinion then as to whether or not a 20-foot planting or green strip would be required along the edge of the road.
Mr. Pearson, in past practice, isn't it typically that buffer is only required when adjacent parcels are different zoning districts?
That is correct, but to clarify, Mr. Wisniewski, is 3.10.1. Whenever a commercial or industrial district of any nature abuts a residential district, if this parcel is rezoned up to the right-of-ways of the respective Richmond, Bryant, and Dudley, it does not physically abut a residential district. Roads are not zoned. So in this case, section 3.10.1 is the governing section. It does not abut a residential district. So in that case, the only green required is a 10-foot green strip along the frontages of the property.
Okay. Thank you for that
Thanks for
clarification.
the clarification, Mr. Pierce.
Okay?
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
I'll offer a couple of comments.
Okay?
My concern is with the, well, two concerns. Number one, the future land use map does show, other than for whatever reason, that little jog of red of commercial in the middle of the block, the future land use map shows the remaining property to remain single family from Dudley all the way to Bryant Street. And my concern is that there are residential properties along Dudley and along Richmond on the opposite side of the street. If that entire block were to be rezoned commercial, those folks would now have commercial property across the street from them, whereas when they bought their property, they had residential. And so that's a concern. Mr. Wisniewski, you mentioned that, no, they're not permitted to have anything over 30 feet, but even a 30-foot commercial building across the street when there used to be residential homes, that's quite a change. I don't know, and I guess we'd have to refer to the solicitor on this one, whether this would have to go back to the Planning Commission, but I would offer a suggestion that if this were to be rezoned, it would be rezoned to something less than the full distance from what is now commercial C2 all the way back to Richmond Street. That would require, as we stated earlier, the buffer, the 20-foot planting strip, and I believe it's an additional 10 feet of buffer that could not be used commercially, a total of 30 feet between the commercial and the residential. So again, it's a suggestion, I'm throwing it out there for the rest of the supervisors to consider. Have the commercial rezoning only go
300 feet?
whatever, something less than the full distance to Richmond Street that would allow for an additional distance of green strip, an additional planting strip that would be required then along Richmond Street and along Dudley.
Yeah, just for distance information, the depth of that off of Peach Street is 330 feet.
That's correct.
Property line to property line. So I think what Brian is talking about is 300 feet of potential rezoning possible. We don't know yet.
What I would suggest, if I may, is that this may be something proper for discussion when the actual land use plan and stormwater management plan are originally presented to the Planning Commission, because your zoning ordinance under Section 304 seems to discourage multiple zoning districts. And we would try to unify the zoning district here to be consistent with the ordinance and to be consistent with any development, because by eliminating the C2 zoning, we're eliminating, I believe, 23 possible uses of that property, which would not be beneficial to a residential area. And our past developments on Peach Street, which have buffer areas with residential properties, both low density and high density, have protected those properties properly within the zoning ordinance. And I think you have to look at past performance when judging future performance, and that all of our projects are in full compliance with all land use ordinances in the township, and this one will be no different.
However, we are looking at a rezoning here today, and although I have no doubt that MCH would follow through with developing or not developing this property, there is the opportunity or the possibility that the property could change hands between the rezoning and the ultimate development by someone. I know that's not your intent, but that's always a possibility. So if it were to be rezoned, we would have no hammer, if you would, to require a buffer along Richmond Street and Dudley Street. Whereas if we only rezone a portion of that, it would be required by ordinance. So we're not in the land development phase right now, we're in the rezoning phase right now, and I would like to somehow be able to assure the residents in that area that a buffer would be required.
If I may, first, Millcreek Township has never needed a hammer to get compliance from MCH Corporation.
Well, that was a bad term.
Or any LECOM entity. Secondly, after the investment that MCH Corporation has made in this property, it is not our intent to ever sell it, but develop it consistently with the goals of Millcreek Community Hospital and LECOM Health, which are eleemosynary and charitable in nature.
Yes.
Mr. Pierce, there is a reference to our zoning ordinance discouraging mixed uses. That's based on a parcel having more than one use, not on a block having more than one use. Is that accurate, Chuck?
Yes, that would be more of like one parcel.
I think,
On this particular lot, Mr. Martin, there were six parcels.
Morgan, yep.
Morgan, I'm sorry.
No problem.
You don't look like Paul at all.
Not at all.
But there are 6 parcels that had dual zoning classifications of C2 and R1, because only the first 130 feet of the Peach Street properties were zoned C2. The balance of the lots were zoned R2, and that is what my reference to Section 304 was about.
okay.
So currently it's only 130 feet? I assumed it was 165. I thought it was
No,
split
it's
right down the block.
130 feet.
130.
And it goes from Dudley to Bryant, and then when you get to the corner of the first lot on Peach Street, which was 5202 Peach, and the second lot, which was 5204 Peach, there's a little notch up above that C2 zoning that was R1. So the zoning classifications on this property are not unified in all instances.
Yeah. Mr. Wisnowski, I think you understand the concern here is that we're trying to protect the neighbors on the other side of Richmond Street.
And we will protect the neighbors
understand.
on the other side.
Right.
There's no doubt about that in our planning.
That's not been thrown into question at all. The point is just having a zoning buffer, not just a land development buffer, but a zoning buffer. And I think that, Mr. McGrath is right on with that there. What that dimension is, could be 30 feet, whatever offers the protection we're looking for. If that were to happen, I'm just throwing this out here to you, does that make your future land development plan going to go down the drain?
I don't
does
know
it
if
stop
it does or it doesn't, but it may make compliance with the township's stormwater management ordinance more difficult.
Okay.
Because I don't believe that you can develop a stormwater management plan within a residential district or an area that's been zoned residential.
Okay.
The second part of that is we're limited to 50% zone, 50% coverage in a C1 district.
That's right.
Which means in this area, only 2.3 acres could be developed commercially, and we would have to be very careful in meeting the side yard and rear yard and front yard requirements.
Okay.
So that could present a problem, but I won't know that, and nor will any of you until the final land use plan is developed and approved by you. And then you can always put conditions in the land use plan to preserve a residential neighborhood's integrity.
Mr. Pierce, that lot coverage requirement, does that exist in a C2 district as well? Or
That's
is
in
it?
all commercial districts.
50%.
Question for our solicitor. We have in the past, I believe, Evan, permitted, when there was one owner of one large parcel, and the owner wants to construct the buffer zone on the residential property, we have allowed that, have we not? You follow me?
Yeah, yes, we have. And again,
That's down the road.
we have not talked about this. On the one hand, because there's some music, first of all, what's before you is the petition, that's the petition. And I don't think referring it to the planning commission is an option. And if they want to amend their petition, they're free to amend it, but I don't think referring it back to come back and go through the same thing is in the ballpark. I'm struggling with the notion of stormwater management being affected by what we're talking about, because I really don't see how that's going to happen. And I sort of personally recall a lot of gnarliness about a development of one of my clients along Hilborn, where they had to put up a big stockade fence to preclude sight for the residential people across the street. You may recall, because that's Mason Farms.
Oh,
At the same time, Mike, what Mr. McGrath's talking about, if, let's say, 30 feet, and again, one of the concerns he has mentioned is you don't want that planting strip too close to the right-of-way, because it messes up with site distance clearance and stuff. If you reserve, let's say, 30 feet for purposes of discussion as R1, that addresses his concern in that it's going to be R1. We have a lot of lots that are part something along Route 20 and something totally different farther back. And it would also protect MCH from having to go to the zoning hearing board to get a variance as to any buffering requirements. Because if you zoned it in a certain way, you're requiring the strip, you're not, you could handle everything on the development phase. Whereas if you're going to have to mess with the buffering requirements, they can't do it here in a land development. You'd have to go to a zoning hearing board.
Well, Evan, if I may, I'd like to direct your attention to section 307.1 of the zoning ordinance itself, which sets minimum lot sizes and density of development. According to the R1, the lot would have to be a minimum of 60 by 120 feet. And if you're going to do a lot that's 30 by 610 feet, I don't know if that meets the requirement of your ordinance and puts us in violation.
Mike, let's cut this a little bit short. We're not creating a lot. We're not creating a lot, so we don't have to talk about lot measurements. We have a lot. Nobody's going to mess with the dimensions of this lot. Mr. McGrath's proposing that you consider amending the rezoning application such that maybe 30 feet coming in from Richmond Street would remain R1. And the rest might be C1.
I see your point, though, sir. I don't think it's good planning to have a zoning strip that can't be developed as that zoning district. I think if we are going to have some kind of a buffer, it should conform to our lot requirements so that we would have 120 feet of residential so that that property could be developed as an R1 district rather than having a strip of R1 for the sole purpose not to develop it, but to have a buffer. I don't think that's good planning. I don't think that's good for the township.
you are in essence creating a non-developable parcel.
Right. So I think to your point, sir, if we're going to suggest lessening your request, I think it should be 120 feet of residential on the western side of the block, which still does expand your presence by, I guess, 80 feet of additional commercial.
Well, Mr. Morgan, the only problem is that because we have no plans of development now, we don't know how much of the 4.62 acres we need for development. And by taking away 120 feet, rather than relying on the final land development plan to control the development of the parcel, you're restricting our ability to fully develop the parcel, which is, I don't believe, consistent with either the county comprehensive plan or the township comprehensive plan.
Well, to clarify that the county comprehensive plan doesn't dictate use, it just says where we should allow development, and it doesn't clarify if that development should be residential development or commercial or industrial development.
I understand that.
And the township future land use plan shows it, if I'm not mistaken, is the majority of it remaining residential.
That is correct.
So we are, in theory anyways, considering going against our future land use plan.
If I could point out, Mr. McGrath, your last land use plan was drafted in 2002, and according to the information that I've received, there is a movement in the township now to obtain a grant to draft a new township land use plan. The other thing I would like to point out is that we are in a predominantly commercial district, particularly in this area of Millcreek Township, where across the street from us to the north, we have the 5100 Peach Street and the Strip Plaza and the dentist's office. And to the south, we have a church which is zoned heavy industry. So, you know, the malaise of zoning here dictates that there be some unification of zoning here, because certainly an R1 classification does not belong adjacent to a heavy industry zoning classification. And what we're trying to do is to, first of all, unify the uses to, I believe, 19 defined uses, 7 of which would probably only apply to our potential development of the property, and to make an environmentally sound project that would create new permanent jobs in the township, all of which are consistent with the township comprehensive goals.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, at this time, I'm going to call for a motion.
Well, is there anyone else in the audience that wants to address this
we'd ask
issue?
anybody wishing to address this now at this time. We had asked for it before. Would you like to come forward, please, if you would? I'm sorry, we cannot hear you. Okay, first of all, we need you to identify yourself, your name and address, please. Carol Palmer. Okay, and your address? 1690 Bryant. Do you have that, Cheryl? Okay. Okay, Mrs. Palmer.
Initially, the lot that is on the corner of Richmond, or I should say, Ryan Richmond, Dr. Eileen bought,
Yeah?
and then didn't proceed with it. Number one, because there's a creek that runs through it. And what it would cost to do anything with that, and he decided not to. And there is still one house sitting on Richmond that they have not done. So, and the only thing that was commercial running through on Richmond was nothing more than a driveway for the use on Peach Street. And it was not used that much. I've lived there for 27 years. And the traffic is going to increase. There's no doubt about it.
Okay.
Number one, because of the traffic out there, and it utilizes it, and they'll have to change what that's done to. So I think that's a consideration. I don't understand why it can't remain R1 coverage.
So ma'am, you're against the rezoning then?
As far as that goes, I think Richmond should remain R1. I mean, there's still one house. Millcreek Community Hospital is already torn down in their house. And it's kind of an eyesore because of elementary trees and stuff like that. But there is one house remaining. So why can't it stay?
If I could point out, MCH Corporation leases the home. When the lease expires, that home will also be demolished.
I see. Okay. Okay. Any other questions or comments from the audience? Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Palmer, for your comments. Appreciate it. Okay. Among the board, I'm going to call for a motion, or whatever that might be.
Well, gentlemen, I have,
Okay.
I guess I have 3 primary concerns about this rezoning.
Okay, please.
The first is I share Mr. McGrath's concerns and the residents' concerns of further encroachment on the residential property, which I don't believe we should be encouraging. Second, I'm concerned about downzoning really prime commercial area along our main commercial strip from C2 to C1, reducing the uses of that property by, I think, 20 possible uses. I don't think that's in the best interest of the township. And my third concern is this only encourages really speculative land purchases where developers assume that because they've purchased property that the township will automatically rezone it as they see fit. So I would move to deny the rezoning request.
Okay. Do I hear a second on that motion?
Well, since there's been so much discussion in regard to how much, if any, should be rezoned, I think that at least I would be willing to consider something other than what's being presented to us today. I know, Evan, you said that it's tough to send it back to the planning commission, but I think that this is, in this case, this is one where the scope of what we're looking at is so large and could have so much impact on the neighborhood, but I think that this would require some amendment before it would be, in my estimation, be able to be approved. And I think that that should go through that public hearing process if, in fact, something different is presented. And I would urge the property owner to present something different than this, because as it's presented, I would not be in favor of the rezoning.
If I may, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
we would be willing to amend our rezoning request to have a 30-foot R1 buffer on the west end of the property from Dudley to Bryant Street, and have 300 feet by 610 feet
Okay.
from Dudley to Bryant Street,
I'm not
zone
going to interrupt you.
C1.
Okay, Mr. Wisniewski, we have a motion on the floor right now. I'm waiting for a second, and so I'm going to ask for a second on that motion. If not, the motion will die. And then at that time, we may entertain something else, okay? So.
Okay, I'd like to hear what he has to say, so I'm not
You
going
want
to second it.
Okay, you're not going to second it?
No.
Okay. Since there is no second on that motion made by Mr. Morgan, that motion has died. Now, Mr. Wisniewski, the floor is yours.
We would amend our rezoning request to provide for a 30-foot R1 buffer, or buffer to be designated by the zoning office on the west end of the property, going south from Dudley Street, north to Bryant Street, along Richmond Avenue. And the remaining parcel, which would be 300 feet by 610 feet, be rezoned C1 to eliminate the necessity of returning this to a planning commission for a repetitive hearing.
Okay, so I want to make sure that I understand also then, that portion that is zoned C1 currently would have the frontage along Richmond Street rezoned, what you're suggesting is, to R1.
Yes, it would be 30 by 610 feet R1 and 300 by 610 feet C1.
Gotcha.
Okay. Mr. Adair, any comment or advice that you can provide us?
Well, I think the applicant's got the right to amend, and unless the applicant amends, I don't see any point in referring it.
Okay.
And if he does, and it's okay with the board, there's no point in referring.
Okay.
I'm getting lost on the discussion because I may have misunderstood where the lot is, but
Okay.
This might help here, Evan.
Well, he's
because
got
that gets-
one there.
Do you have that? Okay, yeah, this has dimensions.
Yeah, the lot is 300, the parcel is 330 deep off of Peach Street, heading back to Richmond.
It would also be our understanding that the 30 feet that we're amending would be the buffer zone, and that we don't have to put another buffer zone of 20 feet on top of it, so that we would lose 50 feet of developable land. The 30 feet in our mind, in MCH Corporation's mind, would be the developable buffer zone for any project we install.
Okay, I've got to ask Mr. Pierce a question on that. Can he use residentially zoned property for a commercial buffer,
The property, the buffer should be on the commercial.
the commercial end of it?
So, you see, that creates a problem, because we're not seeding 30 feet, we're seeding 50 feet.
That's right.
And we don't want to seed 50 feet, because it reduces the amount of acreage that we have for development.
Okay?
Looking back to Evan again, I know we've done this.
what is it, 20 feet from the lot line? Is that what you're talking about, Chuck?
That's the 20-foot planting strip.
Then you'd be retaining 10 feet. Wouldn't you?
Oh, But required on the commercial.
And I think that's a great suggestion to retain 10 feet as R1. Then we put the 20-foot planting strip in. You have the 30 feet
we'll get the
that's
30
being
that we're looking
requested,
for.
and you're probably going to get more, you're probably going to get the full 30 feet as a planting strip.
Okay.
I mean, the point is to get the board's concern and the owner's concern in a format where it doesn't get queered up in the administration. And it sounds like this would do that.
Okay. With that in mind, any further discussion?
So let me clarify the amendment we're proposing. First, we're proposing that a strip of 10 feet by 610 feet be rezoned R1. And it'd be bordered on the west by Richmond Street, on the south by Dudley Avenue, and on the north by Bryant Street. And that the balance of the property, which would be 320 feet by 610 feet, from Dudley to Bryant along Peach Street, be zoned C1.
Okay.
I can see Mr. Morgan saying,
Well, I'll just reiterate the concern I mentioned earlier, that I don't think it's an appropriate use of our zoning ordinance to have 10 feet of property zoned a certain way, knowing that it can't be developed to that use. That's my only
I fully
concern.
agree with that. I'm looking for some way to guarantee the protection of the neighbors, and I don't see any other way but to do it the way you're suggesting, Mr. Wisnowski.
Well, there's that, or we deny the rezoning.
Well, if you choose to deny the rezoning, you're limiting our ability to develop this property and create new permanent jobs within the township, which we have demonstrated at prior hearings have an average salary in excess of $45,000 a year.
Well, I understand your point, sir, but I look up and down Peach Street, and there are other C2 districts that have the same dimensions that have been able to be developed, so I'm not sure you won't be able to develop it. You may not be able to develop it to your preference. I acknowledge that.
But you see, the C2 district is more than we need for the 7 potential uses that we would want to make of this property in the C1 district. And also, by eliminating the C2 district, you protect the neighbors from certain uses which would be certainly undesirable in that district, which do not exist there now.
Okay. I think at this time, because we've been discussing this, I think about 35 to 40 minutes now, not that we put a time limit on it, but I think it's time that, well, of course, we had one motion already. I correct myself on that. It's time we call for a motion on what's being proposed by Mr. Wisnowski. You're talking about leaving a 10-foot portion of it along Richmond Street, leaving that as residential,
Yes,
and the balance of it will be rezoned commercial as the application is requesting.
yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I hear a motion on that.
I'll make a motion to that effect. I will qualify this that I'm not a big fan of leaving it only 10 feet. But like I said, I think that we need to do something to try to ensure some privacy for the neighbors along Richmond Street. And that's the best that I think we can come up with right now.
Okay. Do I hear
So that'll be my motion.
Okay, do I hear a second on that motion? If not, I will second that motion. Okay. Any further discussion or comments? Being none, I want to say this, and John, I have a feeling you're probably not going to be in favor of. That's fine. That's there's nothing against that.
Thank you for your permission, Chairman.
I'm sorry, but the point I'm getting at here is that in this situation, we're trying to achieve something here, and I think that a total elimination or a denial of the rezoning application, I think there's a 1-year period that it would have to be before the MCH could come back.
That is correct.
And that, that delays something, and of course, they do have a right to develop the property. They are a property owner, and they, to try to, you know, do something that may keep them from doing that, I think that it doesn't look well, so.
Well, to that point, John, we're not telling them they can't develop the property. If we deny rezoning, we're saying they can't develop half that block as a commercial development.
Right.
They're still free to develop the property. We're not restricting their ability to develop. We're restricting the uses that they develop, which is the purpose of a zoning ordinance per the PAMPC.
Right, yeah, and I do recall the times that that property along Peach Street was commercial. I think there was a car lot, there's a video store up on the corner, and then PJ's Auto Sound, I think, was in there too, so, yeah, it was all
Yes.
commercial, and, you know, retail commercial, that is, you know, so, anyway, I just wanted to add that there. I'm not trying to belabor this matter here, so at this time, I'll call for a vote. Mr. McGrath, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote no.
And I vote yes. The motion, the variance, or not variance, but the rezoning request has been approved with conditions on that, or a modification to the zoning district, the size of it, so.
Thank you very much, Chairman Grow and
Thank you.
Supervisors.
Thank you, everybody. Okay. Okay. Now, moving on to item number 10.
I guess that's me.
Yes.
Gentlemen, last year, our Millcreek Planning Commission, along with our zoning and engineering staff, spent a considerable amount of time reviewing and making recommendations to amend the township zoning ordinance and the subdivision land development ordinance to enhance language regarding street trees, buffering requirements between residential and commercial districts, and to enhance some language regarding parking lot plantings to help improve the aesthetics of our township, to improve the quality of life for our residents, and also to help mitigate stormwater issues to some extent. Those recommendations were formally approved by the Planning Commission on October 6, 2015. In addition to those recommendations, staff have recommended that we also review and address a few outstanding issues that have come up in the past regarding height restrictions in our lakefront area overlay district and some land use inconsistencies between our commercial districts. The next step to address this, per the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code, would be to develop and have the Planning Commission review a formal amendment and to open a 30-day public comment period on the revised language. That process would begin at the earliest at the next Planning Commission meeting on March 1st, with the earliest day this board could adopt the amendment being April 5th. I would move that we direct our solicitor and our zoning and engineering staff to develop a formal amendment, refer that amendment to the Planning Commission, and initiate a public notice process as defined in the PAMPC.
That's a motion?
Yes, sir.
I will second that.
Okay. Mr. McGrath, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, those items are referred to the Planning Commission, your next meeting coming up in March. Okay, item number 11, announcement of bids and quotations received. I think it turns over to you, Brian.
I'll do the first one for the aggregates. Bids were opened yesterday in regard to materials to be used for our paving program this coming season. We opened bids for 10,000 tons of type A crushed aggregate, 1B limestone. We only received one bid from Carmuse Lime and Stone for $21.74 per ton. We received a bid for 2,500 tons of type A crushed aggregate, 2B limestone. Again, only one bid from Carmuse for $21.74 per ton. We received two bids for 12,000 tons of bituminous asphalt sand type 3, Fiesler sand and gravel, $5.75 per ton, and Gertz sand and gravel at $4 per ton. These are going to need to be reviewed by our engineers and our asphalt plant operators, and we would not award this until we also put out for bid the trucking and hauling of these materials. We make a combined award typically in a couple of weeks. That's been our standard in the past, and that allows us to obtain the best pricing. Now, we are able to award a contract for 1,250 tons of PG 6422, that is the petroleum asphalt cement. One bid was received from Russell Standard Corporation for $397.56 per ton. This is based on the February 2016 Zone 3 PennDOT price. This is a kind of a floating price depending upon the market at the time. And like I say, right now, that gets us to a little something less than $400 per ton. Again, that was from Russell Standard Corporation, and I would move that the award go to Russell Standard for the bid price.
Okay, do I hear a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. McGrath, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
Yes?
And I vote yes. Okay, that's all we have under aggregates
Yes.
for right now. Okay, next item on that is the pagers for the 929 and emergency management team. This comes from Matt Exley. He's looking for the approval for the purchase of pagers, 10 of them, through Mobilecom for the 929 team, an emergency management team at a cost of $4,490. These will be paid for through the 2015 PA State Fire Grant, which was approved for. Mobilecom is currently the only vendor in northwestern Pennsylvania that is an authorized dealer for these pagers. Due to a promotion going on right now, we will be receiving an additional pager at no cost and Bluetooth headsets at no cost. The quotes that were received, Mobilecom $4,490, Mutual Aid Supplies $4,539.89, and Amazon.com $5,200 even. With that stated, the Mobilecom was the lowest qualified bidder at $4,490. I move that that purchase be approved.
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I was clarifying, the Mobilecom wasn't the lowest bidder, but we have increased value due to the
Right.
special promotion.
Right, yeah.
And I will second the motion.
Okay. Mr. Mr. McGrath?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, next item on that is Insta-Alert Rapid Messenger signs, and this is for the emergency management and 929 team. These are the signs that we can put out at the scene of an accident or something. You probably have seen them on PennDOT. We're having a little difficulty getting PennDOT to help us out on this matter. This way, our teams, our fire departments, whenever they go out there, they can set these things up. It says accident ahead, move to left lane, move to right lane, or just road closed, or whatever it might say. And so what he's requesting for is a purchase of 2 Insta-Alert Rapid Messenger signs from a company called All Traffic Solutions at a cost of $15,439. I can go through this here real quickly, but due to the emergency scenes, it's amazing how many people do not pay attention to that, how many accidents are caused in which emergency responders are injured or even killed. So with that set aside there, that is the main reason for making this purchase or requesting the purchase. The quotes received were from All Traffic Solutions, as I said, for 2 signs and the accessories, $15,439. Tapco, 2 signs on the trailers, $19,900. And the third quote was from Fleet Safety Company. Once again, 2 signs on trailers, $15,989. With that said, I make a motion to approve the purchase of All Traffic Solutions from them, $15,439. And that's from a grant too. So,
If I could,
yeah.
I don't think that's from a grant.
Oh, wait a second, I'm sorry. Let me double
Well,
check. I stand
kinda,
corrected,
sorta.
yes.
It's not
Kind of,
a grant.
sort of, yes.
It's a grant from the Streets Department and the Sewer Department.
Right, yes, I'm sorry, yes, I'm sorry.
As
I stand corrected.
part of your motion, Mr. Chairman, I would recommend then that money be transferred, half of the funds
Yes.
be transferred from the Streets Department and half from the sewer capital equipment budgets in order to allow emergency management, because they do not have money in their budget to make that purchase. Both streets and sewer did have money available that they would be willing to purchase the signs, because both streets and sewers will get a significant amount of use out of these signs.
Okay, yeah. I'll go back on my motion and modify it accordingly there. So that's the motion as modified. And Brian, you have seconded?
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. McGrath?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you for the correction on that. And let's see here, item number 12, Resolution 2016 R6, a resolution to provide assignment and collections of receivables by the Millcreek Township Water Authority in connections with termination of its affairs and dissolution. Mr. Adair, can we refer this to you?
I guess you can.
Okay, I will.
In connection with the termination of affairs of the Millcreek Water Authority, which was the subject of an agreement between the authority and the township entered into at the end of October of last year, the water authorities billed its customers for water service provided through the end of December, which was the last day the Water Authority provided service, and before the transfer to Erie Waterworks. It has sent bills to the customers. It's going to terminate its affairs in the near future, and it proposes to file liens in the court to confirm the fact that there are assessment liens against the properties. This resolution simply talks about the assignment by the authority of its rights as to receivables and claims and liens to the township. And it anticipates the billing, the notifications to the customers, and the liens being filed as need be. And I think it's helpful for the people out there to understand that they're not going to keep getting bills from the Millcreek Water Authority, nor are they going to get bills from Erie Water Authority for account balances that pre-existed January 1st. It'll be Millcreek Township that will be owed the money, and so the sooner they can be cleaned up, the better, but you cannot expect that Erie Waterworks is going to include those totals on its bills. So the reminder letters that I know that the authority is going to be sending out in the next month, I hope will prompt users to resolve those delinquencies so they can simply worry about Erie Waterworks looking forward. This resolution authorizes the assignment, looks forward to the assignment, talks about an assignment agreement being worked out, and we're going to have to work out some of the details because I'm not sure that we want to file 1,200 liens for what are often small amounts.
Well, and this resolution just gives the board the flexibility to negotiate as necessary
Right.
and enter agreements as necessary, and gives the chairman a
Right.
signature.
We'll have to
authority.
work out details in the next couple of weeks before the authority meets. So I would recommend approval so that this is formalized.
Okay.
I'll move to approve the resolution.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. McGrath?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. And resolution, item number 13 on the agenda, resolution 2016 R7, a resolution pursuant to resolution 2015 R20. Let's see here. Right, the Municipal Records Manual to approve the proposed disposition of certain township records. And of course, we went through this last year where certain records are allowed to be disposed of as per state law. Mr. Adair, do you have any further comment on that? I know this is what we've been doing.
I have nothing involved in this.
No, okay, okay then. We are required by state law that we are allowed to dispose of certain records after certain times. Who can dispose of them?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. I believe our Assistant Secretary, Cheryl Williams, might have some comments on the
Okay.
item.
Yes, what, okay.
Resolution 2015 R20 requires that we be in compliance with the Municipal Records Manual.
Okay.
Schedules for disposition of records. Each time the township disposes of records, a resolution must be approved.
Yeah.
The accounts payable clerk, payroll manager, and streetlight assessment clerk have requested disposition of old records dating back as far as 1997,
Yep.
according to the schedules outlined in the Municipal Records Manual.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you, John. Okay. Any questions or discussion from the board?
No, I would move approval of resolution 2016 R7.
Okay, I think, did you already make the motion? Or am I, okay. Do I hear a second on that? I'm sorry.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Mr. McGrath, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you. Thanks for clarification. Item number 14, action on Web QA Master Services Agreement. This was brought in from the last meeting there that we needed some more information. I think we got everything clarified on that. This is a purchase of some software program for the building codes and zoning department.
And Mr. Chairman, I wanted to say I appreciate you gentlemen letting me table this so I have more information.
Yep.
I will say that after investigating it and speaking to my staff in engineering and zoning, it's how this is a great product. It's going to enable much more efficient interdepartmental coordination
Yep.
in terms of constituent concerns as well as permitting. Also, part of this application will be to enhance residents' ability to communicate with the township through our website. So I appreciate you allowing me some time to investigate that.
Thank you, yes.
And I would move approval.
Okay, well, here's a second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay. Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. McGrath?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Just one thing, when that system is finally up and running, we will let the public know that they have any concerns or questions, they can send that via email or however the system is going to work. Let's see here, number 15. Action on Gerald Salisbury Building automatic door opener installation project with Erie Housing Authority.
I guess I can cover that,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman. This is funding through our Community Development Block Grant Fund. The Township is eligible for direct allocation of these federal dollars. Those dollars are typically limited to projects that benefit low to moderate income individuals, seniors, and folks with disabilities. We go out for competitive grants for this funding annually. We reserve some of those funds for our own infrastructure needs, typically stormwater and ADA compliance for curb ramps. We also allow nonprofit groups to apply for those funds. Last year, we awarded this contract, which, what's the dollar amount of $3,200 to the Erie County Housing Authority to install new doors, new automatic doors at their facility, the Gerald S. Salisbury Building, which is a senior living facility on Pacific Avenue. And this is simply the agreement with Erie County Housing Authority officially awarding those funds for them to proceed with the project.
Okay. Okay.
And I would move that we approve, that we
Okay.
that we sign the agreement.
Sure. Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. McGrath?
Yes.
And I vote yes on that. Okay, item number 16, sidewalk deferral agreement. Mr. Morris.
This is for the Pennsylvania Electric Company at 5404 Evans Road. There are no sidewalks in the immediate area, and we're recommending approval of the sidewalk deferral agreement.
Okay, so this is just a deferral. Should sidewalks be in that area, then they'll have to construct, and that's what the agreement is
At their own
about.
expense, yes.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve that agreement?
So moved.
Okay, do I second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. McGrath?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, communications. Mark?
Yes, I received a letter from Industrial Appraisal for the contract to maintain and provide appraisal services for the 2016 season. The cost for the township is a total of $985. They provide appraisal to our insurance carrier so that we maintain appropriate values for our insurance for each renewal period.
Okay. Okay, then. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move approval.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay. Mr. McGrath, how do you
Yes.
vote? Mr. Morgan?
I think-
Oh, I'm sorry, did you have something, Evan? I'm sorry,
I
Evan.
said public comment simply because I think.
Oh, yeah,
Oh.
okay, I'm sorry.
I think you really should ask on these because there's not enough detail for people to know.
Okay.
When it's
yeah.
under the communications.
Right,
yeah.
I'm sorry there.
It's on the agenda, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, is there any public comment on this? I'm sorry, I apologize for getting ahead of it there. Being none, okay. We'll call for a vote. Mr. McGrath?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
Okay, and I vote yes. I do apologize on that there. Okay, let's see here. Crack sealer, I'm Brian, I'm sorry.
Sure, yep. The Streets Department would like to purchase a crack sealer for road maintenance, something that is in their budget. And we have a memo from Bill Hitchcock in the garage. There is a state contract. This is through the CoSTARS program. CoSTARS is a statewide program that allows for municipalities to purchase items through this CoSTARS, where the state has already gone out, developed specifications, and solicited bids for various items, anything from police cars to crack sealers, and everything in between. Bill Hitchcock recommends purchasing a Craftco Model 125 with the air compressor, with an automatic loader conveyor, and 4 additional sealing tips for a grand total of $52,825. Out of curiosity and just to make sure that the CoSTARS price was in fact the best, he also looked for another similar item. One was available from Thorworks Industries, and similarly equipped. The price would be $61,938. So the Craftco through CoSTARS was in fact the best price. I would move approval of that purchase request.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. McGrath, how do you vote? Public comment, I'm sorry, public comment on it being
Yes.
none? Okay. Okay, Mr. McGrath, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes.
Do you want me to go ahead and do the seminar request right now?
Yeah, well, let's do that, and then
All
we
right.
could move on to Judy and Jesse.
Okay. Have a request from Pam Fitzpatrick in the Streets Department. This is actually on behalf of Gary Walters, the head foreman in the streets, looking for our approval to send two foremen, Streets Department foreman Kurt Hall and Sean Kern, to attend a one-day seminar. This would take place on May 2nd, 2016, at the Wingate by Wyndham on Oliver Road. The total cost would be $398 for both individuals, and the seminar is how to communicate with tact, professionalism, and diplomacy. I checked with our HR director, and Diane Lyons said that she feels that this would be a not only pertinent but a good seminar for those individuals to attend. So I would move approval of that.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I would agree. After talking with Diane, it sounds like this is a good program, and we're trying to encourage professional development from our managers and our foremen, so I would second.
Okay. Okay, any public comment on this? Being none, okay, Mr. McGrath, how do you
Yes.
vote? Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes.
I have one other item. Do you want me to do it now, or do you want to?
Yeah, go ahead, do it.
The only other item that I have is we received a memo earlier this week from, actually it may have been last week. No, it was Monday, I'm sorry, yesterday, from Diane Lyons in HR in regard to, she's looking for some direction as to whether or not the township wishes to appeal an unemployment compensation board decision granting former Supervisor Rick Figaski unemployment compensation. The decision would award Mr. Figaski 26 weeks of unemployment compensation at $573 a week, or about $15,000. That is not a number that we put in our 2016 budget, nor do I feel that the award is justified. We have been through this several times in the past, where a former supervisor applies for and is granted unemployment compensation. This one is something different in that former supervisors who had been awarded the unemployment compensation in the past were candidates for re-election the previous year and had lost that re-election bid. So they wanted to come back to the township, but in fact were denied that by the voters. But they were awarded the unemployment compensation. In this case, I think that this is considerably different in that Mr. Figaski did not seek re-election. He made it very clear from early in his campaign that he would be a one-term supervisor, that he was not going to run for re-election, which he did not. And he instead chose to not run for re-election and is now living in Florida. And I don't fault him for that. I think it's a great idea. But I don't see that the residents of Millcreek should be willing to pay the unemployment compensation. I think that the board should direct our HR director to challenge that decision by the Unemployment Compensation Board and see if we can get that decision reversed.
Okay.
So I would move that we direct our HR director to challenge that unemployment compensation decision.
Okay. I just have one comment. I think this is a personnel matter, and I'm not sure if this should have been brought up under communications, but since it is already out of the bag there, that's fine. Do I hear?
And I don't mean to interrupt, John, but and I kind of agree with you. Unfortunately, this has been made public previously on similar situations, and the board did discuss at their January 4th meeting Mr. Figaski's request to be reappointed as secretary.
Right.
And
Okay,
that was denied.
Okay.
It all kind of ties together now with that denial. We understand now where that was coming from.
Okay, I just, make a cautionary statement about being a personnel matter, but there's a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second on that motion?
Well, Mr. Gray, I do agree with you. I acknowledge that supervisors are a bit of a unique position, but I do think we risk a poor precedent of discussing personnel matters in public when we give every other employee the courtesy of discussing those matters in executive session.
Right.
With that, though, I do believe we should direct Diane to initiate the appeal process, so I will second the motion.
Okay. And I'll just make a comment here for the record here. Of course, we'll have public comment on it too. And I will go back to when I took office, the former supervisor, Mr. Kiava, had applied for unemployment. And I don't recall this coming to a board action. Maybe I forgot there, but I do recall.
No, you are correct. We did not.
We did not
oppose the award.
Right, and I remember Jerry Wolf asking us if we wanted to challenge that.
That's correct.
And of course, I made the motion that we do not want to challenge that. And of course, you know, the supervisors were in a very unique situation. I will say a couple things about it, two things in particular. First of all, as a personnel matter, if you recall, we had an employee that we had to terminate last year. Our decision to challenge his unemployment benefits was not brought up in public, okay, and that was through a termination. The other matter is that, you know, this is something that just seems to go on and on here with different supervisors, and the thing that we know for sure is that the evidence that Mr. Fagaski presented to the Unemployment Compensation Board for benefits, they said yes, he was eligible for it. My concern is how much time and effort is going to be spent on this. Of course, we need special counsel. I think
Typically
Rich
would be our labor
Perhax,
counsel,
our
yes.
labor counsel, handles this, and then a time from Diane Lyons, our personnel manager. So anyway, I just want to make that comment.
We did use Attorney Perhax when Mr. Fagaski insisted that we challenge, at that time, former Supervisor Larry Curtis's unemployment compensation.
Right.
Mr. Fagaski publicly insisted that we challenge that award.
Yes, that is on the record, yes, I know.
And I think that we should, of course, use Attorney Perhax again because he's familiar with the situation.
Okay. Okay, with that said, any public comment? Okay, being none, I'll call for a vote. Mr. McGrath, how do you
Yes.
vote? Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote no.
That's all I have.
Okay, let's see here. That's all you have under communications? Well, what about the one for the trees, or the grant? Yes,
Oh, right.
Judy and Jessica. We have one here.
Better TV.
Okay, we'll put Jessica, yes, okay. And this is in regards to performance grant and PSAT's communications contest from the recycling department. Ms. James.
I do. I have two announcements. The PA DEP Section 904 Recycling Performance Grant is available to all Pennsylvania local governments with recycling programs. The grant awards are based on the total tons recycled and the applicant's recycling rate. In 2013, so we apply for a few years past, in 2013, Millcreek Township residents and businesses recycled 9,161 tons worth of eligible materials. This included glass bottles and jars, steel and aluminum cans, plastic bottles, newspaper and magazines, paper, and corrugated cardboard. As a result, the Millcreek Township Recycling Department was awarded $91,943 to put back into programming, education, and events that benefit our Millcreek Township residents and businesses. I just want to take this moment to thank all of our residents, both those that reside here and own a business here, for their excellent recycling efforts. Recycling does pay, and this funding would not have been awarded without the public's dedication to the environment. Okay, and my second, oh, go ahead.
Well, I would add also wouldn't happen without the hard work of you and Judy and your team, so thank you very much.
Thank you. I also have to announce the 45th Annual PSATS Communication Contest. Millcreek Township earned a top award from PSATS in their 48th Annual Citizen Communication Contest. The annual contest recognizes townships that have successfully communicated programs and activities to its citizens. Millcreek Township took third place for its 2015 calendar, which was the Millcreek Ready, Prepare, Plan, Stay Informed, Get Involved calendar. So I do want to just show you which calendar that was.
Okay.
And
And Jessica, I don't mean to steal any thunder here, but I think that we have won, or you and Judy, the township has won quite a few communications awards.
Yes,
from
we have
police
in the
heads,
past.
several. And yesterday, I was speaking to a group out at Asbury United Methodist, and that was one of the issues that came up. They said they just love the calendar.
Oh, good, I'm glad.
It's very informative, and they said just about everyone, to a person there, they all put it up on their bulletin boards, and they all use the calendar. So that's quite a testament.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So I'll call for a motion to approve that. Is that what we're looking for on that there? No, that's just announcement.
We don't have to approve anything to receive the grant, right?
No, that's just announcements there. Okay, thank you. Okay, let's see here. You're all done then,
Yep.
Brian? Okay. I have a couple communications here. This one comes from Director of Police Mike Tesor. He's asking for permission for the following MPD officers to take the training classes that I'll be listing here. These classes require no registration fee, and as of this date, today, no overtime compensation will be required. First one is for Patrolman Herb Lucas of the Patrol Division to an advanced roadside impaired driving enforcement class, February 16 and 17. Of course, this is at the PA State Police Training Center in Meadville. So that's one of them. The next one is once again for Herb Lucas of the Patrol Division to a vehicle search and seizure class on February 29th of this year. Patrolman Joe Makowski of the Patrol Division to a first contact class on March 22nd of this year. Detectives Brian Fiorelli, Jeremy Green, and Adam Hardner of the Investigative Services Division to a hostage officer survival class on March 28th and 29th. Patrolman Joe Makowski, Patrolman Chris Buckner, and Patrolman Ryan Presnar of the Patrol Division to a building search techniques class on April 11th and 12th, once again of this year. Patrolman Herb Lucas of the Patrol Division to a class on testifying in court to be held on April the 26th. Patrolman Joe Makowski of the Patrol Division again to a class on interview and interrogation, and this will be from May 9th to the 11th this year. And finally, Patrolman Chris Buckner of the Patrol Division to a close quarter battle class, May 24th and 25th. And as I said, those, as of this date, there are no registration fees, and as of this date, barring any situations, there is no overtime compensation will be required. So with that, I request, make that in form of a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, so here's second. Okay, you got the second, I'm sorry. Public discussion? Comment, none? Okay.
Chairman, I would just add that again, this is, I think it's an appropriate professional development for our team here in Millcreek Township.
Okay.
So I would vote yes.
Okay. Mr. Munzberg.
I'll vote yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. Let's see here. Next one is permission to purchase one live scan and mugshot capture station upgrade through the Pennsylvania Chiefs Association in Harrisburg via DataWorks for a total cost of $15,855. This was pre-approved as part of the budget for this year, and it has been discounted by $3,145 due to a payment already made on the 2016 service contract for the existing unit that we have. The present live scan unit will reach the end of life on March 31st. In other words, this thing's going to die out on us when all hardware support will cease to exist. I thought I had the quote on this there, but anyway, that's the purchase. It was approved in the budget, so I'm going to make that in the form of a motion.
I'll
We make
second
that
it.
purchase. Okay, do I hear? Okay. Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. McGrath?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, next item on from Director Tesor. Permission to purchase 6 2016 Ford Interceptor SUVs with all emergency accessories, video and audio equipment, computer systems, computer mount hardware, and police graphics from TriStar Motors of Blairsville. And of course, the other equipment comes from Team Force of Johnstown, WatchGuard of Allen, Texas, Gov Connection of Merrimack, New Hampshire, and let's see here, Hint Peripherals from Meridian, Connecticut, and Octane Custom Designs, Westridge Road here in Erie, respectively, at a cost of $46,204 each, or a total of $277,288.86. 228, I'm sorry, yep, stand corrected. These vehicles are quoted under the CoStar contract prices, and all quotes are attached for your review. It should also be noted that all 6 vehicles were pre-approved as part of this budget, this year's budget, and they replace older high-mileage police sedans currently in the fleet. And I just want to put a little caveat on this, that hopefully the vehicles that are still in good shape, we can use them somewhere else in the township.
Typically, we recycle.
Yeah, use them as much as we can, so
Yeah,
I put that in the form of a motion. So.
I'll second the motion, but again, I'd like to encourage us to maybe utilize Bill Hitchcock in our maintenance garage to evaluate the vehicles and let's see what other departments can use them rather than damage them out.
Right, yes, okay. Mr. McGrath, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. I got, let's see, I'm sorry, 2 more here. Permission for Patrolman William Lawrence and Chris Buckner to attend an on-scene collision training at the Pennsylvania State Police Training Academy in Forty Fort, Pennsylvania, from February 22nd to February 26th. This course is intended to educate these officers in the more complex aspects of traffic accident investigation. There is no registration and no travel time compensation should be incurred. Hotel, meal, and fuel costs are an estimated of $1,200, $1,200 for both officers combined. I make that in the form of a motion to approve that.
I'll second it.
My only question is, well, our previous request for training, the chief made a point to note that no overtime would be needed.
Right.
Is this insinuating
Yeah,
that they do need overtime for this?
Yeah, let's see
Training?
here. He said there's no, let's see
He doesn't
here.
mention it in this.
He does not mention that in that there, so.
Well, I would vote in favor of it, but just
Okay.
note that this
Okay.
is not automatically approve overtime.
Yep. Okay. So Mr.
I will second
The amendment to
the amendment to the motion. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Mr. McGrath, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. And finally, under the police here, we have, this is from the meeting of January 26th. This is regarding April 30th drug take-back program, in which people will be able to drop off, residents will be able to drop off old medication here to the township building. State law requires that one of these is going on, that a law enforcement officer be present. The chief at that time requested 6 hours of overtime for an officer. We did table that motion, or that action, until this meeting. I think, does everybody have the information they need on that? Because I'm going to make a motion to approve that request for the 6 hours of overtime.
With the overtime?
Yeah.
Again, though, from discussions, or at least clarification,
Yeah.
I believe that we received, the overtime would only be required
Yep.
in the case of the department being shorthanded on that
Yeah,
day.
okay, I should clarify that. Yeah.
So it really would not be guaranteed or automatic overtime unless it's actually required.
Right. I think the point that the chief was, or that Mike was getting at, was the fact that if we are not able to put an officer in here, we cannot have the drug take-back day.
Well, I'm not
That's-
saying that we shouldn't have an
Right.
officer.
Right, I'm
I'm
saying-
saying that we should not approve this with automatic overtime, so
Right.
he schedules the overtime. Maybe scheduled is the right term.
Right, okay.
We are not approving scheduled overtime. That would only be in the case of being shorthanded.
Yes.
Well, and this is in April, correct?
It's on April 30th, yes, it's a
So
Saturday.
again, I would move that we direct Director Tesor to sign us up to take part in the program, but the overtime we revisit at a closer date to the event.
That's
And
fine.
we don't
Okay.
approve overtime today.
Okay, do you have the conditions on that, Cheryl? On that, on it?
I move that we will participate, but we do not approve overtime today.
Okay. Okay. Mr.
Motion, I'll second that.
Okay. Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. McGrath?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. I know this is dragging on a little bit longer. Let's see, your fire department and ambulance grant agreement from Matt Exley, our emergency management coordinator. This is for the township to apply for a grant, which actually we've already received, from what I understand. let's see here.
This is to approve the agreement.
To approve the agreement, that's what this action is. It's just to approve that. We received a grant from the State Fire Commission, and this is for the purchase of pagers and extrication gear. And so that's what we're looking at here with this. You've got the approval. We went through the approval motions earlier in the meeting, so that's what this is all about here, just approving the
This is
grant.
for $12,650.62.
Yes, that is correct there, yes. So I make that in the form of a motion.
I'll second that.
Okay. Mr. McGrath?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan, how do you vote on that?
Well, I would just clarify, the original request was a $14,250.
Yeah,
They
correct.
awarded less, but Matt actually was able to actually find the coverall products at a lower price.
Lower
So
price, yeah.
I will vote in favor.
Okay, and I vote yes. Okay, let's see here, I have another one here, and this is from me. In my capacity as Administrator of Public Safety, I request authorization to attend the Department of Labor and Industry Accessibility Board meeting, which I'm a member of, in Harrisburg on February 18th, which is next Thursday. All costs, including lodging and transportation, are covered by the Commonwealth, so I put that in the form of a motion.
Even if they don't have a budget?
Well, yeah, they still cover that.
still cover it, all right.
They've never sent me a bill for lodging or anything, so.
I'll second that.
Okay. Mr. McGrath, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. And let's see here. We have a new item here before we go to you, John. We have a new item on the agenda that we're going to start reporting monthly, and then this is the right-to-know request. So I'm going to turn this over to Cheryl Williams, who is our right-to-know officer.
In January, we received 3 requests. 2 have been completed. 1 is pending due to the 30-day extension due to the volume of the requests. 6.5 hours were spent completing the 2 requests that have been finished, and a total of 152 pages of response.
Okay, so that's for those 3 requests. And then, plus, there's also additional legal fees from our solicitor for the right to know on some of the requests. And I'm not sure I want to broach this topic, but I'm going to have to just for a second. We have 2 particular requesters. I'm not going to name names here. The legal costs for the one, keep in mind, we're required by law under the Open Records Act that we provide these, but we also need to have legal review from a separate solicitor. And the one request, the legal fees cost $5,178. That's just for this month, or for the month of January. Another one, $1,998. So we've spent about $7,200 in legal fees for a right-to-know request.
Mr. Burrow?
Yes.
That was for the year 2015.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, that's the year. I'm sorry, I stand corrected there. I was looking at 6s there and stuff, so,
Oh.
yeah. So I just want to make that comment there.
It wasn't January, that was
Yeah.
15.
Yeah, 15 there, I'm sorry. That's just a comment, and that by no means is trying to keep anybody from requesting right to know. It's just that we want people to know that we are complying with the law, but it also costs us money to do that too. So please, if you will keep that in mind.
Mr. Gray, I think we should also clarify that we don't send every single request to the attorney fees. We
Yeah.
do have
No.
very capable staff that handles a lot of these in-house, so we
Right,
do
yeah,
our
no,
best
I
to keep those fees as low as possible.
Many of them are very, very simple.
Very simple ones, not everything does go there, so. Okay, and I just have one more here, and as many of you some of you may have saw in the newspaper, Bob Sidman was the former zoning administrator here with the township, and prior to that, he was a township engineer. He passed away this past week here, and he retired here from 1995 after 39 years of working for the township. Prior to that, he was a graduate of Penn State University and served in the United States Army. And so for 39 years of being employed here with the township for his service and his service to our country, we offer our deepest sympathies to the family of Bob, his widow, and his children and grandchildren. In fact, that probably at this time right now, they're conducting a service for him right now. So just wanted to let you know about that. That's all I have there. Thank you. Okay, John.
I have nothing else, Chairman.
Okay.
I have nothing.
Okay. Rick? Okay. We'll go back to Caitlin. Any comments from you? Are you bored to death? or-
She's wishing she was back in class
Are
right
you
now.
coming back? Yeah. Normally, these don't go this long.
No.
This is a long meeting today here, so don't let that discourage you there. So, public comment, or any citizens to be heard? We have just the press out there right now, so I don't think they need to say anything, or want to say anything, that is. So, we'll call for a motion to adjourn the meeting at 11:15.
So moved.
Okay,
I'll second.
we are adjourned.
You're watching the Millcreek Government Channel, powered by WQLN Public Media.